Welcome, healthcare entrepreneurs and clinicians. My name is Dr. Emma Shapiro, and I am here with Nicholas Rolnick. He is the founder of BFR Pros, and BFR stands for blood flow restriction. He helps educate clinicians on blood flow restriction and how they can help serve their patients. His business is so amazing because he has really been able to grow this platform, and he just got accepted to speak at an amazing national conference. He's been speaking worldwide. He just got back from Europe, and he has published many research studies on blood flow restriction. So in today's webinar, we are going to go over how he got started, how he's able to do all this research and find these amazing speaking gigs and get his voice out there to these really large platforms, and then also how you can use blood flow restriction to help serve your patients and increase your profits. Welcome, Nick. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Just to get it off the beginning, I haven't actually published any research articles yet.
Okay.
I'm actually going to be involved in a research study next summer, which hopefully will kick off some of the clinical, or at least the academic aspects of what I want to accomplish with blood flow restriction. But with that being said, I do have a ton of resources that are on my Instagram that I do help, I publish posts, if that makes any, on blood flow restriction and application. So if anybody's interested in BFR, they definitely could check that out and learn a lot about really what BFR is. So with that being said, thank you so much for having me. I always love the opportunity to come on and just help spread my mission as the BFR Pros, and also as the human performance mechanic, which is my physical therapy practice. And as cheesy as it sounds, that mission is to make this world a healthier and happier place to be. As really and I do that by using my skills as a rehab professional. I'm a physical therapist by trade, and a strength educator to help make the lives of my patients better by getting them back to the activities that they love to do faster, and by using any technology that in my mind is better for results. So BFR Pros actually is the Better for Results Pros. It just so happens that BFR right now is one of those technologies that are out there that is better for results.
Oh, interesting. I thought it was blood flow because I always see you post about the blood flow and talk about blood flow.
So right now, so in terms of business perspective, if you limit yourself to one thing, it kind of really keeps you in this one-dimensional aspect. But we all know that the human body is extremely complex, and so multiple technologies can help get them back to really, again, people that are healthy, right? They're happy. They're able to do the activities they love to do. And so as a rehab professional, getting people back to the activities that they love to do is really the goals that what we should be having as clinicians. And blood flow restriction is just one of those tools that help me get my patients back to the activities that they love to do faster than other traditional therapies. So that's why BFR for me doesn't stand for blood flow restriction. It stands for Better for Results. And so right now BFR is the flagship technology that we're pushing.
Gotcha.
But that also doesn't limit us to other technologies that are out there that can also help with business owners, entrepreneurs, to help monetize them, but also work. These are things like the Beamer, for example. I don't know if you've heard of the Beamer, but that uses PEMF, pulse electromagnetic frequency, to help increase blood flow, and other technologies, again, that will be on the outs, that will continue to rise, but will fall under the Better for Results umbrella. So
nice. I mean, I agree 100% with that perspective. If any of you follow Kelly Starrett, he actually just did a huge rebranding. And exactly, the ready state. And that's exactly what you're talking about, is the fact that he was a little bit too, I thought he was still pretty global, but he felt like he was a little bit too niche. And so now he has the ready state, which does much more into like nutrition and just so many other topics. And so he's become much more of a global brand versus just more of like a therapy brand. So I think you're spot on there. So tell me how Better for Better for Results got started? Like, how was your inspiration? And then how did you grow it to what it is now? Because you're doing all these amazing courses and these amazing speaking gigs in Europe. Like, how did that happen?
It didn't happen overnight, that's for sure. Uh, so I guess it initially started out, honestly, back in how I first found out about blood flow restriction. And I've always been into optimizing human performance. Again, my physical therapy brand is the Human Performance Mechanic. So I'm always looking at the next best thing to help with getting people back to the activities that they love to do. I came across about 3.5 years ago ish, maybe more than that now, that blood flow restriction in one of the research articles. And then I kind of got hooked. I thought, wow, this is a pretty unique way to approach strength training and rehabilitation. And really, even 3.5 years ago, there wasn't a lot of research on clinical populations that could be effective in rehab. But I was like, listen, the science sounds pretty legit. And there was still a ton of research out on it. I mean, BFR started back in the 60s, and it's only now just recently gotten to mainstream through the amazing anecdotal stories that are given from the results of BFR, but also the evidence that's accumulating to support its place in practice. So it was at that point, though, that I started to say, oh man, like this could be something really big. And I started to read more about it, and I started my Instagram channel in a way, as a way for me to just keep a visual log of what I really wanted to do. And the Instagram channel has kind of gone through a couple of different rebrandings as I've kind of gotten more comfortable with what hits on Instagram, what makes sense, and developing my own style and brand.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, initially I posting on Instagram, keeping everything there. And then I kind of started to develop into a little bit more followers. I mean, I'm not Insta famous by any means, but I mean, I got over 18,000 followers on my Instagram channel. So most of which are clinicians and other people that are very interested in blood flow restriction. So it's a very targeted audience, niche audience, but one that allowed me to get into teaching. So about a year and a half ago, which really it's only been like a year and a half if you think about it. But after, of using BFR in practice, I got approached to start teaching blood flow restriction by Smart Tools, which is now, pretty much the top non-automatic cuff company on the market. And they wanted me to start teaching for them. And so I started to teach for them, continue to gain a better understanding of blood flow restriction, where it fits in practice. And it was during that time that I founded the BFR Pros with actually two other people. And but those two other people now are no longer with the company. So it's really just me and my father, actually, who's business, and he self-brands himself as a business and marketing lunatic. So he does the operations and the back end. But we founded the BFR Pros with a mission really to make the world a better place, but by accelerating performance and recovery. So that's what really everyone cares about. How can they get back to, you're working with athletes. How can you get back to the field quicker? How can you recover quicker? These are all very prominent research questions in general. And so that kind of resonated with us to make as our like tagline, accelerate performance and recovery. And we ended up getting connected through, I got invited to go to France to speak at this conference was the first conference actually that this company Kinesport was hosting for for their educational development for their physios. So they're the largest continuing education company in Europe, but they span 10 countries. So I went and I spoke about blood flow restriction. I gave a demo for the people, and there was a lot of demand,
That's
and so
awesome.
that spiraled into a teaching contract where, for the next couple of years, I have the opportunity to be able to go to Europe and through the BFR pros and deliver workshops to the French physios. So I am one of the only people that is actually doing that, because it's so new in Europe. I mean, in America, there are already, Smart Tools is there. There's Be Strong. There's Owens. There's a lot of different companies out there that are doing education on blood flow restriction. So the market is kind of saturated. But internationally, it's actually pretty open. And so I have a certain way that I like to think about blood flow restriction. And so it's really cool that I was able to put together a presentation and be able to shape how European physios are integrating blood flow restriction. So super awesome, super privileged. And then, based on that and the experiences that people were having in the workshops, word was spreading. And so I recently got involved in another contract. So now I'm going to be in the Netherlands again with Dank Physio, which is another company that's out there. And I'm also going to be in Italy now with Nova Via. So all these opportunities are coming about from me being able to have this relationship with Kinesport. And that's allowing me to really just travel the world and see see the different parts of Europe that I never was able to see. And really, more importantly, spread the mission of the BFR pros, which is to help get people back to doing the activities that they love to do faster. And ultimately, again, as cheesy as it sounds, to make the world a healthier and happier place to live through blood flow restriction. So I'm very blessed. I mean, it's something that I wake up every morning, and I'm very fortunate. I have my practice out of a very beautiful facility in New York City, Flex NYC on 41st and Lex. The owner, Kim, has been fantastic to me, enabling me to have a situation that I can call home base and treat patients out of. So, I mean, I do it all. And on top of that, I'm a professor. I teach kinesiology and biomechanics at Lehman College in the Bronx. And I also teach kinesiology and applied anatomy and functional kinesiology. I always get the title confused. It's the same thing to me. Yeah. Anatomy and kinesiology. I teach that for Concordia University. I have been doing that for the last 3 years. So I get to have my hand in academia. I get to have my hand in the clinic, and then I get to have my hand in education of physios. So really, I'm living the dream. It's a lot of fun. I mean, I will tell you, I work a lot though, but it's really true in that when you find a passion and you find something that you believe in, that it really isn't work. I mean, again, like I know I worked for 7 months at an outpatient clinic. That was still a great clinic overall. I mean, I saw one patient every 40 minutes, but I was there 8 to 10 hours a day, every day. Notes are crippling. Not making what I deserve. And so I've been there, and I understand that dilemma and the burnout. And as somebody who wants the best for our patients, and feels that we're worth, especially when we're giving great care, we're worth that $55-$60 an hour, in a salary position. It's very frustrating when a lot of physios are making $30 to $40 an hour. And it's just, and we're going to get a doctoral education. It's frustrating. So
I know those.
That's why I was like, I don't want to be in that situation. And so that's why it took a lot of work to get everything off the ground, a lot of reading, a lot of understanding, the amount of background information just to be able to discuss some of these topics were days and days of reading alone. So it's not easy, but I hope that people that are watching this, can hopefully take something away. Is like, if you want to do something and you believe in yourself and you believe in whatever you're trying to promote or do, like you'll do it. You'll be successful. It just takes a long time. It takes a lot of learning.
Yeah.
As I said, I'm the last member standing of the BFR pros, right? Like it's not easy.
And you probably had to go also without a lot of earnings at first. You know, a lot of people don't realize that at first you're not making any money and you're spending hours doing all those Instagram posts, Instagram videos, learning, research. All of that is unpaid time that now you're benefiting from, but all of that back work is
I think
a lot.
that's the most commonly misunderstood and underappreciated way that the general population doesn't understand that when you're an entrepreneur, your time is worth nothing.
Yeah.
It's worth nothing. $0 an hour, right? And so if you don't recognize that and you don't have other income streams, but that's part of the reason why I teach, right? I've been able to, and with me as a cash-based out-of-network practice, again, that's why I have to have my hat off to, Kim, the owner of Flex. She's allowing me the opportunity to have a very home base and allow me to grow my practice underneath her roof and really just be in a situation where I don't feel like the walls are caving in every second of every day. So I'm also in a lucky situation, in my own. But a lot of entrepreneurs don't. You take out a loan, you do all these other things to help create some income for yourself. But ultimately, you're not going to create income unless you become profitable.
Yeah.
And honestly, where I'm at right now, the BFR pros, we're not even profitable yet. So yeah, we have all these opportunities. It's great, but there's still other things that we're doing right now to scale that will ultimately make us profitable. But right now, it's about trying to create a brand.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I've learned going through the ringer is like you need to have a brand, and you can't just say wake up one morning and have a brand. Okay, I have a brand, right? But nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
You need to get out there, take opportunities that you might not make a lot of money, but will give you a little bit of exposure, right? And then allow you the opportunity to grow your brand. So people are always like, I need money now. Well, if you have that attitude, you're never going to be successful as an entrepreneur, because you need to be able to do what you can do to make ends meet. And that means with me, I'm living with 3 people in Manhattan, right? I'm not paying for a 1-bedroom apartment right now, although I'm hoping to next year. But it really is trying to live by your means and working a lot. Like I don't have much of a social life. Like I live in what I think is the best city in the world, and I rarely go out because that's extra money to spend, right? I rather get my sleep on the weekends, wake up in the morning, and I have Saturday and Sunday uninhibited, as if I'm not traveling, to be able to get work done. So these are all the things that what I look at as like prism shifts. Like you're looking forward, but really you got to really look to the side a little bit and see, okay, this is where I got to go. My priorities have to shift a little bit. And so, and it's finally nice to see that a lot of the work that has been put in on Instagram, right, on those unpaid hours of reading research are finally coming to the forefront. And now I'm starting to see some fruits.
Do you feel like that creation of brand has basically, that's been the cornerstone of your ability to get these speaking gigs, was
Absolutely.
that Instagram brand? Yeah.
Absolutely. So I have again, I've over 200 and at least 275 posts on blood flow restriction. So when people ask, or people think of me, and again, it's social media has become such a huge boon for small businesses because it costs nothing.
Yeah.
Right? You don't need to have any money in order to play. Now, I will say that organic reach on Instagram is plummeting. It's so hit or miss. Even on my channel, like I'll post something And, about 1 to 3% engagement is good engagement on social media. Sometimes I'll get 75 likes on a post. Sometimes I'll get 600. Like I still don't get Instagram on a lot of levels, but I will say that it's definitely enabled me to get to where I am, because I have some of the biggest researchers in BFR that follow my account now.
Wow.
I have companies that have reached out to me wanting to learn about blood flow restriction from me in person because of my Instagram. And so it really is. It's ultimately a long play with Instagram. You need to really just put in some time. And it doesn't have to be Instagram. I'm not on Twitter.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, why did you choose? Because people always wonder, like, what social media platform? Because everyone always says, it's great to be broad and like have all these different platforms, but it's a lot managing your Facebook, your Pinterest, your Twitter, now there's like a Twix, or there's this other one out there, TikTok.
Which is
I
like
don't know.
6-second videos that are random. I don't get it.
Yeah. So why did you choose? Because like I think Facebook is really great to create leads, but why did you choose to target Instagram a little bit more?
So with Instagram, I can have a very nice aesthetic virtual log of all of my posts. So if you look through and I used to do these things called human performance mechanic musings, which were things that were going through my mind about blood flow restriction or exercise. Sometimes I post about vitamin D, right? But it at least created a framework by which I had a post, a video, or another image, and then the same blue. So you're scrolling through, that can allow you to create a brand, a visual history of everything that's going on the channel. And Instagram is good for communicating to all different types of audiences. And I'm able to get, I got referrals through Instagram for treating clients. It's just something that I was comfortable with. And I really never got Twitter. I know people.
I don't think people can monetize on Twitter. I don't understand it.
Yeah. People there's discussions that are on Twitter, like, but again, like the discussions that I have with other professionals tend to be on Facebook. So I think of Instagram as very short form, succinct. Let me try to get the information conveyed in as little information as possible. And then I use Facebook to post all of my stuff on Instagram. And that's where I'll have discussions with other practitioners. And Facebook has allowed me, because you can post from Instagram to Facebook, I post on very large student DPT forums, which again, all that does is it just keeps my name in their mind, being like, oh, I scroll through, I see Nick's post. All right, it's on blood flow. Like today, I just posted right before this, I posted up 3 exercises to get you can do to get you to a pull-up, right? So it's not just blood flow restriction. It's exercise science. It's a unique spin on exercise. Like people follow my account to see how unique I can spin certain exercises within reason. Obviously, like it's not like I'm looking for uniqueness. It's just how my brain works. Like so it just allows an easy platform. I can't visualize that on Twitter, and I can't see that on Pinterest. So yeah, I mean, it kind of just fell in being like, okay, Instagram is one of those things where I can, create a nice aesthetic appeal. And on Facebook, I have my own private, well, now it's not private. I opened it up publicly for a little while to have I have like 1,500 members. Well, that are, that was my headphone.
You're so passionate.
Yeah, I have like 1,500 members that are predominantly clinicians that are interested in discussing blood flow restriction, and so it's a very targeted market as well, group as well, which ultimately, I'm able to post my coursework, my courses, things that are going on, and it's nice. So again, social media is the way to go. It's just not something that's going to get you in overnight success. I mean, the people that I talk to that have way more followers than me, like hundreds of thousands of followers, do a very general approach. Like they have like a, oh, you want to do 5 exercises for low back pain in the acute phase or whatever. That's not me. I don't want to be known for that. I don't care if they have 100,000 followers and my max will always be, 20,000, whatever. At least I'm staying true to what my brand is and what I want people to know about me, which is unique exercise experiences and blood flow restriction. So it really just depends when you're looking at trying to create something, like what is your goal? Because a lot of times people on Instagram fail because they don't understand what their goal is to communicate with their clients or their potential people that were going to follow them. So you get posts that are all over the place. And I went through that. I mean, I had people that follow me because I used to do bodybuilding stuff. So I'd have the shirtless stuff. I would have the leg stuff. Like I went through that phase and I'm like, listen, that's not my brand. I don't want people to understand that about me. So I don't post a lot of that stuff. Do I post a little bit of it maybe on the story occasionally? Sure. Because I am in fitness, I do that. But ultimately I would never post something like that for a record on a post. But again, it just depends on who you are, what you want to communicate. So that's the biggest thing that I've learned is, and it takes a while.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. My Instagram channel is over 3 years old, but I think if you scroll back, it only is a year and a half that I left posts on, because it's not the posts that were there before are not the what I want to communicate to my audience.
It's not on par with your brand. Well, exactly. I have so many questions because you do so much stuff, but I also know that we have only so much time, and you do eventually have to go to sleep. So, but really fast before we talk about blood flow restriction, I want to just go back to speaking, because I know we have a lot of people that would love to eventually just get into those speaking gigs or those teaching gigs. So any advice onto how you dealt with, I know you talked about how you got them, but what about sort of the contractual nature of that? Like, how do you go about demanding your value on a speaking gig? And I don't know what you have to say for that, but I was just curious.
So I kind of alluded to it earlier. It's like you can't, and this is where I had friction with some of my partners in the past. It's like you can't look a gift horse in the mouth.
Yeah.
Right now, the BFR pros are where we are is because we took deals that weren't necessarily the most beneficial financially, but allowed us to actually establish a brand and establish credibility. And so I'm eternally grateful for those deals because they allowed me to get to where I am today. And I'm still nowhere to where I actually want to get to, but at least I'm on the stepping stone of progress. And so what my recommendations would be to anybody that's looking to get into speaking, or, well, there's a couple different things. There's delivering courses or speaking, is that you don't have a lot of ground to stand on if you're starting from scratch. So what that means is you might have to do nothing, meaning you take what's given. You have a space, you might have to pay for a space, you might have, whatever it takes to build up a resume. That is the largest part. It's building up and establishing credentials. So what are your credentials? Well, if I'm going to have somebody that I want to speak about blood flow restriction, well, they better be doing blood flow restriction in their clinical practice. That's number one, right? And then number two, they should at least have some personal experience of blood flow restriction, because that's always important to relate. And then number three, they should be familiar with the topic, right? And then you just start from there. So I went and I started to speak at mini conclaves. So the student conclaves that are there that I volunteered to present, applied, and started speaking there. Started getting my name on. I think I was like five talks or something like that in the last 2 to 3 years ago, a year and a half, 2 years, whatever it was. but started to get my name on those. And then, you know, for example, like the NSCA, like the one that is the pinnacle of strength and conditioning, that I got a 50-minute talk next year, which is awesome.
Woo!
I'm still in disbelief, to be honest, but super excited at that opportunity. I applied to one of their regional conferences, right? Their state conferences, what they call it. And so, because you need to, in these larger conferences, you need to apply, and you need to start out smaller and then build up. You can't just go, I can't say that never, but I would say the vast majority of people, for when I talk to them, because I have mentors in the space that, which is also another tip, you have to have a mentor at some point. Yeah. You can't not have a mentor, but applying to these smaller conferences and doing a great job, because they give feedback, and then you can apply to the big show. So these are all things that need to happen. You can't just go from 0 to 1,000, and it takes time, and it just takes consistency. You might get rejected by a couple of different ones before you get an acceptance. Don't be disheartened. I got rejected from the smaller clinic, but then I got like the same presentation. I got rejected from one, and then I got accepted to the big show, like their big conference in Las Vegas. So you just don't know. You just have to, you have to be consistent, and you don't be disheartened by no. I got rejected twice from the APTA conference right now. So I'm hoping that now with this, you know, other conference on my resume, that I will be able to then speak at CSM. So it really just, it's consistency, and it's starting out small and being realistic. A lot of people come in and they're like, the first thing you said before, oh, money, I need money, right? I need the money now. You need to have a long game, and you need to be patient, and you need to be consistent. I mean, I don't view myself as being, you know, this super genius or whatever. It's just consistency. I read papers. I take notes. I have a bibliography of over 100 pages of just the research and the summarizing research that I have. So like, and then you read it over again to stay fresh. It's just, I wish I could give some
Where's the magic? You're not going to give me. You're not going to give me the magic tip. What?
Yeah, I wish I could give some magic tips, but it's really not. It's doing the basics very well. You just read research, you summarize it, and these are things like, even I posted an article the other day, and you know, a postdoc PhD was saying, hey, listen, this paper didn't do the statistics that well. Okay, well, what did I do right after that? I went to statistics.com or whatever it is, and I looked up the differences between a repeated measures ANOVA, you know, a single measures, like all these things. So now that I'm looking at papers in the future, I can say, okay, they did this statistical analysis correct. They didn't do this one. Okay, my weight in this paper might not be as high. It's just making sure. I have no problem with saying I don't know either. I don't know a lot. I mean, I know certain things very well, but I also have no problem saying, hey, I don't know right now. I say that to my patients. I say that to people that ask me questions at conferences or in my workshops. You got to be comfortable with what you know and what you don't know. And people appreciate that, actually. People are like, oh, I appreciate that you say you don't know. And so, yeah, I wish it was magic. If it was, I'd be a lot quicker than
sign you up, right?
If it was magic, I would say 28 hours in a day. That would be the first thing that I would ask for.
No, we appreciate that. I mean, that's why I love to do these webinars, is because like a lot of people see all these posts of people that worked 10 years to get where they are. Like Pat Flynn is amazing. And you see it and it looks so easy, but it's not. And he put in a decade of time to get to where he is. Everyone is putting in a lot of work. It is a long game. And sometimes you have to pay to play. You know, you either have to pay for the mentors who are going to open up the doors for you to get to those bigger arenas, or you have to take a lot of pro bono work to, like what you said, add it to your resume, so that then the next time you look more established, and then eventually you can start getting a payout from there. So speaking now of your talks, I know we wanted to talk a little bit about blood flow restriction. So I don't know, I was thinking you could either just talk about blood flow restriction and how it can help patients earn more, or if you want to practice a little bit of your upcoming talk for the conference, you can give us like a little mini taste. It's up to you.
So blood flow restriction is, in essence, it uses a cuff, like getting your blood pressure taken almost. But this cuff is calibrated by technology, whether that's like a computer device or calibrated with an external Doppler, which what that does is it will help us reduce the blood flow to the arm or the leg, safely reduce the blood flow to the arm or the leg, allowing the muscles to, which pretty much allows the muscles to work harder to generate a contraction. As a result of the decrease in oxygen, now you're getting an additional stress on the metabolism of the muscle fibers. And so we can then accelerate the process of getting fatigue, which can allow us to lift these lighter loads and gain similar benefits as lifting heavy. So that opens up the rehab populations in particular, those that can't really lift heavy, to improve muscle mass and strength. Or, how many repetitions can you do even in post-surgery of a 1 pound bicep curl, for example? I mean, like, a lot. So what blood flow restriction does is it just reduces the volume needed to get a training effect. That's literally what it does. And that is my talk next year at the NSCA National Conference. It's what is the exercise science implications of that, and what it does is the only way that we can grow muscle is we have to create some sort of fatigue, right? We have to experience what we colloquially call the lactic acid burn, which is really not lactic acid burn at all, because lactate is actually a base. So it actually doesn't stimulate the burning sensation, but it's actually the accumulation of the multiple amounts of metabolites that will create that burning response, ATP, hydrogen, phosphorus. I can get all into that. But that burn signals an intense exercise that's happening at the muscle. Now, if we just stop by the time we experience that burn, will we get a little bit of a benefit? Sure. Why? Because we're getting some of those higher threshold motor units, the ones that predominantly operate on an anaerobic metabolism. So they do not have, they don't need oxygen for their ability to generate energy for a muscle contraction. Well, those are the same muscle fibers that are the only ones really that are going to be able to allow us to gain muscle mass and strength. The type 1 fibers are very small, and they're not able to grow very, very much, but the type 2 fibers can. And there's this exponential relationship that exists by the more tired that we get and the more effort that we have to put in to lift that weight, the more and more of those type 2 motor units that we end up getting recruited, which will be the ones that are responsible for, obviously, those visible increases in muscle mass and strength. So It's important that when we're in the rehab setting that we're able to challenge our patients to be able to get to that fatigue. But just using heavy loads is not appropriate for a lot of our patients. And using really light loads is also not appropriate, because it's going to take a lot of time to be able to do that. So blood flow restriction, again, allows those light loads to be perceived as very heavy. And so the talk is going to go into some of the exercise science background as to why, how we can get those light loads to be, quote unquote, perceived as heavy. And so it doesn't do anything super special. I mean, it could in certain ways. Like, I just posted an elite rower or elite rowing study that
I saw that one.
These individuals had 63 plus milliliters per, insane VO2 max, like insane. And 5 weeks of substituting some of their low intensity training with BFR, that group increased their VO2 max by 9.1%. When you're dealing with elite athletics and you can create such a substantial change in such a short period of time, that is very, very impressive. I think I put it as remarkable, because it is. You have people that in that same time period, that other group was only increased at about 2.4%. So you can create substantial performance benefits along with the rehab implications of even getting people walking on the treadmill and like a deconditioned elderly, and you can get them increases in muscle mass and strength, increases in strength of about 13.3%, according to one of the systematic reviews published last year, or increases in hypertrophy of about 3%. So the possibilities for rehab are endless, and that's why I saw this back 3.5 years ago. And you talk about Pat Flynn and being 10 years. It's only been 3.5 years for me, and so I still have a lot longer to go. But I'm very fortunate that I saw something, and I said, "Oh man, there's some teeth to this." I mean, there's almost 50 years of research on this, but because it's called blood flow restriction, people are like, I don't really like that. Why would I do that? Oh, whatever. But if you understand the exercise science implications behind it, which is exactly why I'm so excited to get this talk, because nobody really is talking about this stuff. It makes sense. And so when I talk to physicians, I talk to surgeons, the first thing they say is safety. And then the second thing is after I said that is, after I say, it's generally been shown to be pretty safe. We obviously need more studies all the time, but from what we have, it doesn't elevate any sort of safety risk more so than high intensity training itself, which is great. And now it's just about making sure that that the application that we do, so how we apply blood flow restriction in practice, is standardized. So now we're heading toward that. And so that's what we talk about in the workshops, and that's what I'll talk about in the presentation as well. So that's kind
awesome.
of my short overview of blood flow restriction. And it's definitely unique. I mean, there are some unique things that happen when you restrict blood flow and you create this hypoxic environment. We knew hypoxia can augment muscle recruitment back in the 90s. I'm sure even earlier than that. So it's now all just coming to a head. And I think people, once they sit down in my workshop and they see how we present this information and that it makes sense. It's nothing more special than than regular resistance training, but just shortening it up. And then I provide the rationale for that. And people are like, okay, that makes sense. So
well, I see it, and from an entrepreneur's perspective too, or from a clinician's perspective, yes, like you're getting people better, but you can highlight that. Like, I love that it comes with research, because people love data and numbers. That's trending. So, I mean, yes, we really want to, help our patients, obviously foremost, but I'm thinking in my mind that, someone who is working, as a personal trainer, or I don't know if they're cleared to do this yet, but
they are. So that's why we have a performance workshop.
Oh, nice.
So,
but like personal trainers, but I could see clinicians basically saying, hey, I can use, this could be a differentiating factor between X clinician and another facility, and basically saying, hey, we have this resource here where we know how to do blood flow restriction, and we can get your son, who's an amazing athlete, hoping to go college, pro, whatever, and we can get him, here's the results, 20% better, 10% better. And I just think that will really get clients in your door, patients in your door, and better results, which will then help your practice grow. And
you saw that. Better results, huh?
Yeah, better results. There you go. But also charge more too. Like the more technology we use, this is one of my soapboxes. I feel like healthcare professionals, there's some technology, for some reason we want to pay for technology, MRIs, CTs, ultrasound. We want to have these cool devices, but therapists, PTs, OTs, speech therapists, we don't really have anything. We just have our hands. And people, I don't ever feel like people fully trust our hands. We really try to do a good job of explaining it, but ultimately, would you rather trust a CT or my hands, And so things like this, where we actually are starting to bring in more equipment, more technology, I feel like will help grow our worth as a therapist. I don't know, but that's one of my soapboxes.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, there's a serious potential for revenue stream. I mean, part of what we do as the BFR pros is we actually have a Better for Results store. And what that means is we're going to launch it very soon. But what that means is that we have, say you're a cash-based clinic, right? And you affiliate with us. Well, we'll provide a whole marketplace for you that has technology that we think is better for results. That's different BFR cuffs. That's different, a lot of other stuff. I can't really talk publicly about some of these other stuff because we're still finalizing it. But a lot of these other technologies there that we can then say, hey, listen, it could be a part of your own website. And now you could say, all right, you could sell products, get a cut, and be able to, again, and then it's drop shipped to you. So you don't have to actually have inventory. And so you're keeping people within the funnel of your business and not having them go anywhere else. And it's another revenue stream. I mean, I also have rented cuffs in the past. So
Yeah.
if I have a client and I feel comfortable and I have them sign a waiver, you know, all that legal stuff that we all have to do, and I have them be able to perform the protocol in front of me, well then, hey, I'll say, hey, listen, you either can buy this or rent it. All right, you want to rent it for you know, 50, 55, 70 bucks a week? Okay, you got it. Boom. And then you want to return it after? Okay, good. Now you've just created an additional passive revenue stream for your clinic. So blood flow restriction is not rocket science to perform, right? I mean, the science is somewhat, it could be somewhat complex, but in general, the application is not that difficult. As long as you're not doing stupid things like putting cuffs on all four limbs, which I see all the time, which I don't understand because there's a simple equation. It's called cardiac output equals stroke volume times heart rate. And we know that stroke volume decreases about 12% when you put a 1 BFR cuff on. So there's a compensatory increase in heart rate as a result of that. So you can imagine you put somebody on 4 cuffs and then they're already predisposed to a heart issue. And all of a sudden you've created a situation where in order to get the blood to the extremities or try to get the blood to the extremities, your heart's going to start pumping even faster and you can create a cardiac crisis. Anyways, that's my soapbox. But you can create some unique revenue streams with blood flow restriction. And it's just another way to monetize your knowledge. So it's not just a, you know, I firmly don't believe that you need a specialized degree to perform blood flow restriction. As long as you take basic medical screening considerations, you go through a process, right? And you're able to know when you should refer an at-risk client to a physical therapist, doctor, a physician, whatever. I don't think that BFR is as dangerous as people sometimes make it out to be, because the research really hasn't shown any different. It hasn't shown that it's dangerous to apply. It's just now people are being more safe because we have clinical populations with increased comorbidities and other factors that may increase the relative risk of applying the stimulus. But that's why I feel comfortable giving a performance course, because the general healthy population, there's a ton of research on BFR and really showing no adverse events. So we're fine with that. It's more the clinical populations that tend to be a little bit more conservative, which we should, right? We should. I mean,
of course. I mean, with anything, it should be, you know, you should take it slow, you know, and maybe not do as much occlusion as you maybe would with a normal active population. Yeah. Well, thank you, Nick. I mean, I can tell that you are extremely passionate about your business and about blood flow restriction, and that you are a wonderful entrepreneur. You've got so much going on, and we just appreciate you taking the time to give us some really good insights. I didn't really know, you know, all the ways we were going to end up with this talk, but I'm really appreciative that you shared all your insights on Instagram, on all your different speaking gigs, and on blood flow restriction and increasing our income with that. Any last takeaways? And feel free to please share your website too, or Instagram if you want to, so people can come find you.
Yeah, if anybody ever has any questions, they can always reach me via Instagram. It's just the HPM, so the Human Performance Mechanic. And then my company's Instagram is the BFR Pros, very simple. And you can find out what's going on with us, website, thebfrpros.com. And then, and on Facebook, if you're anyways interested, BFR Pros Accelerate Performance and Recovery, you can search that and join our group. We have a ton of interaction with blood flow restriction with clinicians across the world, really. I mean, I can literally say across the world. So it's super awesome in that capacity. And just if anybody has any questions about anything, again, feel free to reach out. I'm an open book. The only thing that's commoditized right now is my time. So so I will try my best to get back to everyone, but I really feel that to give back and try to get people, because everyone wants to get, or at least I would hope everyone wants to get to the top of the field and help make money doing that. And so that's
Definitely.
my goal as well. So I'm always open to helping people reach that next step.
Yeah, check out his Instagram. He has amazing posts and a lot of research. I've already learned a lot from just following him in a short couple weeks here, and he's got courses as well. So if you're really interested in this, on his website you can check out some of the upcoming courses, right?
Yeah. I mean, we're the only company where you're going to be able to find the top BFR technology in the world in one room. So we have technology that hasn't even been released yet. Again, it's just a great learning environment because I don't promote any of the BS. It's all science, all evidence based, which is what it should be when we're dealing with clients with medical comorbidities. So it's a lot of fun, and I love giving it because it's my course, and I love teaching what I want to teach. So it's really the nuts and bolts to get anyone started with learning blood flow restriction. And so we're going to be in Boston next year. We're going to be in Florida twice. So you can check us out. I think we have a couple others that we're finalizing, but should be across the U.S. But I'm really not giving that many in the U.S. It's mostly international. So again, just feel free to reach out if you're interested in hosting too. Again, you can reach out and see. I mean, my time is limited.
What about an online course?
So that's coming. So we talk about passive revenue. That's coming. That's in the works. So it's already. It's just again, if there's 28 hours in a day, we'd be in a much different spot right now. But it's definitely coming. 2020, it's going to launch. So that's also another thing on the horizon. So.
Awesome. Well, I'm super excited for that. Let us know, because we'd love to help introduce everyone to your course and take your course as well, so we can learn more about blood flow restriction. Thanks so much, Nicholas. I really appreciate it. And everyone, thank you so much for coming on. If you have any questions, check out his Instagram, Facebook, or his website, and have a good night.
Have a good one.